put God first. And that's my form of putting God first.
Yeah.
What does putting God first look like? Remember, I'm coming from how I see the world and my walk of life. Putting God first means that you're putting yourself first. You are God of your own reality.
Mm-hmm.
You take full responsibility. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. I'm sorry. You are coming to save you. And that's going to hurt some feelings.
Hello, gods and goddesses. Welcome back to the Black and Abundant podcast, where we are talking all things Black abundance and how to elevate our people in every area of their lives. We are your host. My name is Nia, and this is my fiance, Jamal.
What up, though? What's good, my beautiful people? What's up?
Try saying all of that in one breath. That is an entire introduction without breathing.
It's hard.
Yes.
You do it really well.
Oh, and I almost choked on juice. Let me just put this down.
Don't die before we get into the topic. Oh, they need you.
Wow. So we are going to do something very different today. And we're just going to dive straight into the topic.
Let's get it.
Why not? So today we are wanting to talk about things that people in their 20s should know.
Okay.
And this topic was brought about with people in their early 20s in mind, because if you guys saw, I did my very first speaking engagement 2 days ago.
Woo, milestone. Let's get it.
It was on generational success, and it was the first school out of 19, because my goal is to, within the next year, speak at 19 different Alabama colleges and universities.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are someone who has a connection to an Alabama college and university, please DM me, help a sister out. Auburn University is already knocked off the list. So any other school, just let me know. Or if you want me to speak anywhere else ever.
For sure. We're not just limited to schools. You want that talk, come get this book. You go to your website.
Right. Oh, snap. I got to set that up.
It's not on the website?
It will be.
It will be.
It will be. For now, DM me. DM me and let me know at By Nia Love.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's at Jaysko, the producer. I don't even think I said that earlier.
Yeah. It's all good.
But either way, so we went back onto a college campus in order to do this event. And it brought back some old feelings, some traumas,
some old weird emotions that I did not feel good about feeling.
College was a weird time. College was a weird time of self-discovery and just trying so hard to just be. It was just, I don't know about you guys, but for my college experience, it just was not a good experience. It had its moments. It's not like I had a terrible college experience and I wouldn't do it again. It's just that knowing what I know today and being the woman that I am today, I kind of wish that I was the woman that I am today back in college, because then I would have been able to take full advantage of it and full advantage of the opportunity, because it's a dope opportunity to just mingle and network and really build yourself and build something. But because I wasn't mentally where I am today, that didn't get accomplished.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I realized back then, I spent like 99% of my time in college just worried about what other people's thinking, trying to fit in.
Yes.
And that brought a lot of social anxiety to me and a lot of just not me being my true self.
Yeah.
Because you're in an environment where the majority of people are doing the same exact thing, but in their own way. And they can make that look really good.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's faking it. Everybody's miserable. Like they may look so cool and like they got it all together, but everybody's really miserable deep down. But that's what sparked this idea, because after being around college kids and having conversations with people after the event, I recognized that a lot of people are still in the same boat that I was in mentally. Essentially, when you're in college, you're kind of still a kid. And a lot of people in their 20s, I've met people in their 30s that still have that kid type mentality. And that's not to insult anybody, but just saying that some people some people go through growth stages in their maturity a little bit slower than others, if ever. I've met people in their 40s that are still dealing with some of the things that I've been able to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
So, with this topic, even though we're not out of our 20s, I'm 25, you're 27, even though we're not out of our 20s, I feel like this concept of age in general is just non existent.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
Age is not really a thing. And I've seen mature teenagers, you know what I'm saying? So when we say we're addressing people in their 20s, we're saying that most people in their 20s have this mentality or haven't figured out the things that we're about to talk about quite yet. Doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions or whatever, but these are just things that we wish that we would have known in our early 20s. And we're kind of talking back to our younger selves.
Yeah. And I want to make this clear too, that not only will we be just giving game of like, okay, things that we wish that we would have known back in our earlier 20s, but like now that we have lived more life, we've gained more newfound perspectives on life. And if we would have known these or had these perspectives that we have now back then, it would have put us in a much further place in life, but also we would have missed a lot of unnecessary,
Yes.
unneeded situations and obstacles that
Yeah.
could have been avoided,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah. Most definitely. So we're taking some, I'm sitting on it. We're taking some notes and you pick one.
okay, boom, boom, boom.
I'm
That's some good
nervous.
stuff, baby.
Ain't it?
So, am I looking on this side or this side?
Those are just like little side
Little
notes.
side notes. Okay.
So I was just writing.
Making other people like you.
Making other people like you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I said that. Wow, I didn't even know I had that on there. Okay, cool. You want me to start?
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, snap. Okay, where do I begin? So, okay, at the event on Tuesday, somebody asked the question of how do you just kind of stop caring about what other people think? How do you let that go? Because she
Mm.
was saying that she's very confident in who she is and she's very secure in who she is. However, it's hard to let go of this idea of people pleasing. And I was telling her that this is something that I still deal with. People pleasing is something that I still deal with because inherently, as humans, I can't remember, I was watching a documentary or something, but he was saying that inherently all humans have the desire to be liked by other people.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally just ingrained within us so that we could build community. So naturally, that's what we do. However, because of the world that we live in today, that is something that was ingrained in us that we don't necessarily need anymore. Like we've overcome that. We don't necessarily need to have this desire for others to like us because actually it's hindering us now. Because now we're in the social media age where everybody can see what we're doing. We can see what everybody's doing. There's a lot of comparison out there, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard. If we're continuously chasing other people liking us, it's gonna be impossible,
Yeah.
first of all. But it's even harder than it was back then because we don't have just, five people's eyes on us. We have thousands of people's eyes on us now,
Yep.
thousands of opinions, and people can literally insult us and tell us about ourselves literally with a few taps of their fingers. You know what I'm saying? So I was telling her that in order to let go of this idea of people pleasing, you just kind of have to get to a place where you have to constantly remind yourself, F them folks, F them folks. I was explaining that people can only project their own ideas and insecurities onto you. People can only project their own beliefs and insecurities onto you. Therefore, we have to stop taking things so personally.
Mm.
Because in reality, what people say to you and how people treat you is simply just a reflection of who they are and themselves. It has nothing to do with you. So you're in this constant game of trying to get people to quote unquote like you, when in reality, it was never about you to begin with. It was always about them reflecting themselves onto you.
Yep.
So the best thing that you can do if you want to stop people pleasing is worry about yourself and keep that in mind. It's never really about you. The only person that truly cares about you is
It's
yourself.
yourself. At the end of the day, talk about it, baby.
So as long as you're confident in who you are, if you're very intentional with your decisions,
Mm-hmm.
then how can people judge you?
Yeah.
If you know that you are clear in who you are and your decisions, then how can you really allow people to tell you that you're wrong?
Mm.
I was also explaining that there is no difference between right and wrong. There is no such thing as right or wrong. There's no such thing as good or bad. There's no such thing as who you should be or what you shouldn't do and how you should live. There is simply what you want and what you don't want. So if you're constantly chasing your deep down desires, then how can you be wrong? You're always going to be the enemy in somebody else's eyes, because sometimes what you want for yourself and who you want to be and how you want to live your life doesn't align with who they want you to be and how they want you to live and what they want you to do. Therefore, you become the enemy if you decide to do for self.
Talk about it.
So the best thing that you can do is just do for self, because if you're constantly doing for other people, then you're never truly going to be the person that you desire and live the life that you desire to live.
Facts.
But
Facts.
that
Keep
was a
preaching,
lot.
baby. Preach. Preach. You preaching a good sermon.
Talking spicy.
That's pretty much like, in my opinion, the whole sum key to life,
Yeah.
in a way of like, okay, living a life of like peace and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go of this idea that you have to people please and just please other people, all that stuff. Because if you're not careful, if you're not solid in who you are, and you're not super clear of your purpose and your intentions and why you're here and what you're trying to do in this lifetime, you're going to spend a great deal of your time getting consumed up in other people's agendas
Mm.
and energies and what they're putting out, because they haven't done the necessary groundwork to get rooted in themselves. So they just bouncing off their perspectives on life and their insecurities onto you. And if you're not aware of that, because you're not aware of that, you will get sucked up in their agenda and what they're putting out on to the world and onto you. I
Mm.
think that is when you become more aware of self and more aware of how the world is and aware of how people operate, that will put you in a position within yourself to set yourself free from all that stuff, because you don't have time to worry about that. You're going to realize like that's not really that deep. Like you don't want to spend your time worrying about that stuff.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You're going to get down the road and realize like it wasn't really that deep. Like, why am I wasting my time putting my energy towards about what people think about me? Because at the end of the day, they got to go home to their family. They got their own bills to pay. They got their own worries and concerns to deal with. Most of the time, they're just dumping stuff on you because they're not happy within themselves. They're not pleased
Say that
with their
again.
situation in their life.
Say that
So,
again.
and they're continuously playing a victim role in their
Mm-hmm.
own reality. So to give them some type of peace or some type of like make them feel good about themselves, all they can do is project onto you. So if you're not aware of that, you will spend a great deal of your time trying to people please and make people feel comfortable and whatnot. And at the same time, you are draining yourself and you're
Mm-hmm.
losing yourself in that process.
I just want to say this for a second, because it comes to my mind every now and again, and it makes me mad. But then after a split second after I'm mad, I'm like, it's kind of funny, because someone that I considered a friend of mine, I did something that she didn't like. And it wasn't like a personal attack to her or anything. Something that I said on social media in general hurt her feelings. So she told me that I don't love myself. And y'all, this is just a great example of people can only reflect their own insecurities onto you. And I didn't say this because I'm a peaceful person. And I don't like to give people the energy that they give back to me if it's negative. I'd rather just remove myself from the situation. That's another bar.
Mm,
That's another
yeah.
bar. I'd rather just remove, if you giving me negative energy, I would rather remove myself from the situation than just give it back because there's no point. But when I get mad about it, I think to myself, you're telling me that I don't love myself, not because I did something that didn't align with who I am and what I want, but because I did something that doesn't align with what you wanted me to do.
Mm,
I don't love myself because I did something that doesn't align with what you wanted me to do and what you
wow.
wanted me to say and the person that you wanted me to be.
Mm,
How does that make sense? The fact that you're trying to control other people's actions, control their decisions, and control who they are to make yourself feel better means that you don't love yourself.
bars.
I was reading The Vortex by Abraham Hicks, and you guys haven't read that book. It's really good. I'm not done with it quite yet, but she's spitting bars. But they said something in there about how we try so hard to control other people just to make ourselves feel better about ourselves. But like Jamal said, you gonna get drained if you continue trying to control people outside of yourself. And that's going into personal responsibility and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just go ahead and dive into that.
Why not?
Because you'll get exhausted trying to control other people instead of just looking inward and deciding to do better within yourself. If something makes you mad, you really need to look within yourself and be like, okay, why am I mad? Why am I allowing someone who's living their life and doing their own thing to make me mad? What's going on within me that's even allowing them to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So take it away about personal responsibility and accountability, babe.
So you asked the question, I forgot what you said, but you asked a question. I guess it was more towards you. I can't remember what it was. Do you remember the question that you said?
I didn't even say a question. I'm
It
confused.
was more like a self-reflective type question.
What's going on within you? If something that someone else is doing or how someone else is living or who they're being makes you angry, what does that say about you?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the question?
Something along those lines. So the fact that you even asked that question, that says one thing about you. Self-awareness is major key.
I was gonna ask you that as well. How do you become more self-aware?
Oh, oh, baby. I literally just wrote this question down in my thought book the other day.
Really?
How to become more self-aware. I can't remember what I said,
Pull it out
but
your butt.
I gotta go find it. I gotta go read it.
Baby.
Give me
Oh
10
my
seconds.
gosh.
Y'all, give me
He
one
finna
second.
lead a
I gotta
podcast again. Go
oh,
on. Get out of here.
and we back. No chance the rapper.
Oh, that's what you meant to
That's what
say.
I meant to say.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
sir.
funny. Y'all, he
Uh,
done ran and got this book for nothing. It wasn't even in the book. He didn't even write down the answer. He just wrote down the question. Answer my question.
so how to become more self-aware?
Yes.
How do you become more self-aware? Speaking and coming from how I see my life and my perspective in this journey called life, right? Okay, something has to happen that puts you in a place of reflection.
Okay.
Something in your life, something must not be going right for you to take a halt and be like, all right, I keep getting these certain results. I keep doing something wrong, or something has been presented in front of me that has me to question my actions, who I am, or I've done some type of hurt to something outside of myself.
Mm.
Okay. And from there, that is what's going to encourage you to go inward and start asking yourself questions like, okay, why did this happen? Why is XYZ going on? What is it about me that I need to change? And it's through those self-reflective type questions that will open the doors to necessary answers that you need to come in contact with, that will give you the necessary revelations that you need.
Right.
So, how do you become more self-aware? I think that you just got to start asking yourself the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to ask yourself questions. I came up with this philosophy because I just said it,
Because you fire.
because I'm fire. But I truly believe that the answers that you are looking for are in the questions that you ask. The questions are like the bridge to the answer you look for. If you're
Mm.
looking for an answer because you are a God of your own reality, you just need to learn how to sit down and slow down and remove all the distractions out of your life and just sit and be still and know that you are God. That's one scripture in the Bible that I rock with. Um, but just be still and ask yourself questions and just let yourself sit there. And then the more you just internally ask yourself those questions, things are going to come up and you write those questions down. And when you get to that answer, that's going to lead to another question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to lead to another question. And it's just going to open many type internal self-reflective, self-aware doors for you. And there's more to that, but that's what I think, honestly. And that's what I've been doing in my journey. And when you come across more answers, then you start going seeking in your outer reality
Mm-hmm.
things that aligns with what you're coming across to within yourself. What you got?
That was good, baby. That was good. Um, I feel like you say ask yourself the right questions, but a lot of people don't know what those questions are.
They don't.
And that's a big thing that I talk about. I'm cold. My little feet cold. Can I put my feet on you? Thank you. We got a heater on right here. My little toesies. They cold. It's a little cold in this house. Either way, one thing that a trend that you will see throughout my talks, my books, and everything that I do is a couple things. So, first, understanding that your emotions are your higher self, your God, your universe, your whatever, your higher being communicating with you. So, if you pay attention to your emotions, then you will begin to understand what your higher self is trying to tell you. I feel like we live in a society, especially within Black culture, where we look at emotions as weakness. And in doing so, we have deprived ourselves of our strongest intuitive power. There's a reason why we are separated from animals, and it's our capability to experience complex emotions and interpret them and understand them. It's highly key and highly important because normally when we feel, there's really only two emotions. There's really only negative emotions and positive emotions. When we feel negative emotions, that is simply our higher selves telling us that we are moving further and further away from who we truly are. And when we experience positive emotions, that's our higher self telling us that we're moving closer and closer and closer to who we truly are. So, like Jamal said, it's when the experience pop up in your life, circumstances that force you to kind of self-reflect. So when you start to feel negative emotions, you know that it's your higher self trying to communicate with you and something that you have to dive deeper into. So when you experience negative emotions, the biggest question that you should ask yourself is, why am I feeling this? And does it align with what I desire for myself? Does the situation that is creating this negative emotion within me, does it align with what I desire for myself? And of course, in asking yourself that question, you have to know what you desire to begin with. And that's another thing for people in their 20s, that you have to figure out what you want. You got to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what you want. And it's okay to not know everything that you want, because The answer to that question is going to evolve over time as you experience more and more life. But you need to have a pretty good general idea of what you want, and not what other people want for you, but truly what you want deep within yourself. You have to sit down and ask yourself that question. And do I want this because I want this? Or do I want this because other people want it for me? Or do I want this because I have something within myself, a negative belief within myself that's making me think that I want this? But if you know what you want, and you know that your emotions are your higher self communicating with you, if you really want to be self aware, then when you experience negative emotions, just go deep within and ask, okay, does this align with what I desire? And if it doesn't, you need to ask yourself why, until you get to the root reason of why you're even upset in the first place.
Facts. And it goes back to, and what you just did, you went through a series of right questions.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, questions are the doorway to the answer that you're seeking. So asking the right questions. And there's gonna be a lot of people that disagree with what you said.
With what?
Just this whole emotion thing, and like the emotions is it's a sign, to your whatever you said, how yourself is trying to speak to you and things like that. There's gonna be a lot of people that disagree. What do you say to those people?
I'm going to take it to Christianity for a second, because there might be, because when you said that people might disagree with me, I immediately thought of people who might be religious.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think churches are so effective?
You want me to answer that, or you just?
It was kind of like a rhetorical question.
Oh, okay.
Why do you think they sing songs in church? Why do you think pastors are so expressive and so energetic? It's because they want to invoke emotion in you. When you feel strong emotions, a lot of people interpret that as the spirit or whatever, is God speaking to you. Or when you read the Bible and a verse pops out to you and it makes you feel something, it just hits home. That's because God is speaking to you through your emotions. My phone's on do not disturb. I don't know why it's ringing, but well, my mom might be a important
Exception.
person, an exception. Yeah, my mama calling me. She always happened to call me during a podcast. She literally calls me during every podcast. But anyway, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. The reason why we get so pulled to do certain things or get involved in certain situations or go after certain things is because it pulls an emotion out of us. We are so driven by our emotions. Even when we're quote unquote doing things logically, it is still emotion pulling us to do something, because it's our emotion towards the outcome that the logical decision is going to take us to. So whether you like it or not, everything that we do is governed by our emotions. But instead of running away from them and using them negatively, we can understand that if we use them in the right way, if we use them as an opportunity to ask ourselves the right questions and to identify what is good, quote unquote, good for us and bad for us, as in what is more towards our highest selves and what is not, then we can take full advantage of them. We're led by our emotions anyway, and nobody can argue that. We're led by our emotions anyway. We're human beings. So the best thing that you can do is learn how to control them to take full advantage of that.
Got you. That's powerful. I got another question for you. What do you have to say to the people who are non-emotional in regards to they disregard their emotion, but they just think logically about everything?
To the people that disregard your emotions, you're always going to be lacking something.
Okay.
Our emotions are what make us human. And I don't want to insult anyone with that, because I understand that there are a lot of people out there who have been taught that emotions are a bad thing and have been put in situations where people have taken advantage of your vulnerability, and they've shown you that emotions are quote unquote weak. So I don't want to insult you in saying that, but I also want to keep it real with you, coming from somebody who did grow up in a household like that, where emotions were considered weak and where vulnerability was considered weak. The moment that I changed my perspective and understood that emotions were strength and that emotions were power was when I could truly tap into who I really am.
Mm.
I strongly believe that if you are not in control of your emotions are simply in control of you. So if you're the type of person who goes around ignoring their emotions, then those emotions still have control over you because you feel the need to consciously ignore them.
Mm.
But you can't run away from them. It's a part of who you are. You're a human being. So the best thing that you can do is just take full, complete advantage and control over them. If you don't do that, then people will be able to use your emotions against you.
Mm.
I say this with secrets. Like I don't keep secrets. Like I don't keep secrets at all.
True.
At all. I don't care who you are. And this has always been me. And I always appreciated this about me. Even when I was in college, I never kept secrets. If there's a rumor going on around about me, like I'll tell you straight up what it is. I'm not trying to hide anything. I have nothing to hide. But because I have nothing to hide, I get to control the narrative.
Mm.
So if you continuously try to hide your emotions, that just gives other people the power to control you.
Mm.
But if you learn how to control them and embrace them, now you get to control the narrative.
Mm.
That's another piece of advice to people in their 20s. You got to learn how to control your damn emotions.
Mm. Well, that's powerful because now I'm trying to. That's a really good um point to understand right there. So now I'm trying to tie that understanding about the superpower of your emotions with the first thing you talked about, utilizing your emotions as a mechanism to connect with your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's people that look at emotions from the standpoint of if you're an emotional being, like you're just unstable. So how to bridge the gap from being that person? Uh, you're saying what you're saying about emotions. That's a superpower to as an indicator to your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
But at the beginning stages of that, and then just connecting that to what you just saying about okay, emotions as a superpower.
Okay.
So how can you bring that full circle?
Are you asking me?
I guess it's more like becoming an unaware emotion person to becoming an aware emotional person.
Correct. Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So I would say I cannot speak for the person who never allowed themselves to feel because I was never that person. I always allowed myself to feel, even when I felt like it was a negative thing. But because I had a negative connotation with doing so, I always thought poorly of myself and thought bad of myself for being a person who could just never keep their emotions in. But for the people who are struggling with just letting their emotions out, period, something that I would say is one, just allow yourself to feel.
Mm.
And that might be really hard to do. And another topic that I wanted to talk about, and we'll loop back around, is letting go of things. But you have to let go of this idea that you can't feel. You have to break down this barrier that you have. And that's through doing a lot of self reflection. You got to get this book. Oh my God. You got to get this book that I'm writing. It's called How to Move On in 30 Days. It's going to be dropping in the next week or so. And if you DM me, I want that book. The first 3 people to do that, I'll send you the book for the freezy when it
Nice.
drops. But you have to do some deep internal digging and figure out what is inside of you. What did you learn as a child or somewhere along your life experience that taught you that you couldn't feel? Because whoever taught you that was simply just projecting whatever they knew onto you. That doesn't make whatever they taught you true.
Right.
So you have to uproot that and get rid of that and just allow yourself to feel. Now, we have the conversation of now, how do you go about controlling your emotions? Now you've allowed yourself to feel, how do you go about controlling them? So when I say listen to your emotions, I'm not telling you to allow your emotions to lead your actions. I'm not telling you to let your emotions do the deciding for you.
Gotcha.
So when you're angry, I'm not telling you to go bust the windows out his car. You know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you to go off on somebody. What I'm saying is ask yourself why you're feeling that emotion in the first place.
Makes sense.
Don't allow your emotions to govern your actions, but instead ask yourself why you're feeling that emotion in the first place and what that's really telling you. So, for example, your man might have made you mad. Okay. Your man makes you mad and you want to go fight. You want to go fight him. I'm not telling you to go fight this man. What I'm telling you is to ask yourself why you're mad in the first place. Okay, you're mad because he did something to disrespect you. He disrespected you. So now you have to ask yourself, is this something that I desire? Does what he did align with what I desire for myself and for my relationships? And if the answer is no, now you must understand that your higher self invoked that feeling of anger within you to show you this person is not giving you what you want. So what are you going to do about it? This person has been continuously, I'm not saying just like cut people off after one instance, but if this is a repeated thing, this person is continuing to disrespect you, which doesn't align with what you said you desire. Therefore, are you going to stay in this situation or are you going to remove yourself?
That is so powerful. I'm really glad that you clarified it and broke it down that way because I feel like a lot of people would I see and hear what you're saying, but a lot of people would kind of miss that. And I'm really glad you took it even further that way.
Thank you.
And just to kind of add on to that, babe, people will either choose to stay in situations longer or make the decision to leave when they know it's necessary, when they have taken the time to become aware of the things that they need and they are more self-aware and develop this self-reflective skill,
Mm-hmm.
which is very important for you to develop as soon as possible. And that is something that I would encourage everybody if you're in your early 20s or just in life in general,
Yeah.
to stay in a state of self-reflection and embrace the skill of self-awareness, because the more self-aware you are, that will help you to make more great life decisions, and you can be able to self-assess situations to where if you need to stay or if you need to chunk the deuces, or you can, being more self-aware will embrace you, encourage you to ask the question, okay, all right, this is XYZ is happening, what can I do about it? Or what do I need to do in this situation? Or what did I do in this situation?
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just thought that was a very important to tie into what you're saying as well, because the example you gave was great. How do a person determine, or not even just how does a person determine, but what's the difference maker between a person who decides to stay in well overdue situations when an outside person looking in on the situation, we're like, dang, why are you still in that situation? Compared to the one who's became aware of this situation, they're in it, and they love themselves enough and they're self-aware enough to be like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So,
It has to do with awareness,
mm-hmm,
but also your belief in self.
mm,
Because, when I was in an abusive relationship, I was aware that it was against what I desired. But because I did not believe in myself, I also couldn't leave.
wow,
But that self awareness also plays a role in that too. Because if I was aware that I did not believe in myself and that I did not love myself simply because of something that I was taught that doesn't necessarily have to be true, then I would have been more aware of the fact that I don't love myself is simply just someone reflecting their own insecurities onto me. So I can choose not to believe that, which can cultivate self-love, which can now encourage me to leave the situation. So it all ties back to self-awareness and your
Yeah.
ability to really like dive deep within yourself and ask yourself, where is this coming from
Yeah.
at the end of the day?
Would you say that it is scary for people to challenge their belief systems?
Of course.
And would you say that that is something that you would recommend that people in their early 20s to right off the bat encourage themselves to start doing? Like challenging your current beliefs and just going through that rabbit hole of checking your current beliefs to see if they're serving you or if they're hindering you.
I feel like this has turned into like things everybody should know,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to target people in their 20s because
Gotcha.
I feel like in your 20s you're a little bit more malleable.
Okay.
Like you're a little bit more moldable. You're a little bit more willing to question your beliefs and question the way that you were raised and change. You're more willing to change in your 20s than you are later in life.
Right.
And I mean, still shout out to my people in their 30s because 30s, people can change in their 30s, but once you hit 40s, it's almost
Yeah.
like I'm stuck in what I believe. You
But
know
I
what I'm
but I
saying?
also think that I want you to dive into answer the question or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think that is very important for people in their 20s to do because I've done it and currently doing it in my 20s,
Yeah.
and you've done it in your 20s. That's why we're talking about it.
Well, I'm
So,
saying for my listeners who are over, in their
uh,
30s,
yeah.
this is still for you as well. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Um, but what was the question?
Challenging your belief systems.
Challenging your belief system. So, yes, yes, it's very hard for people to let go of the way that they've been living their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the process of texting an old student. She's a senior in high school now, and she's about to go off to college. And
Mm.
my little babies, they're graduating. But either way, she was telling me how she's afraid to go to college because, I taught at a predominantly white school, a lot of white kids. And she's been in that school system her entire life. And she's actually going to be going to an HBCU.
Mm.
So she was telling me that she's absolutely terrified of making that transition. And I was like, I wish I would have gone to an HBCU. I think you're going
Same.
to absolutely love it there.
Same.
I just think you haven't been able to fully embrace your Black culture because you haven't been in that situation because of the school that you grew up in. But I think you're absolutely going to love it. And she was telling me that she's just afraid of change.
Mm. Ooh, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But just make a note of that. But go
Well,
ahead.
that's challenging your beliefs and being afraid of change is one and the same. For real.
True. Yeah.
Because your beliefs are what govern everything that you do.
Yeah.
It governs all of your decisions, the way that you live your life, who you are.
But it's wild though. That's true. But what's wild, baby, is like the most constant thing in this life is change.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that people are so afraid of is change. And that's why they find themselves being stuck in certain seasons of their life for long overdue periods of time.
Yep.
But if you just early on in your 20s, and I encourage you, if you're in your 20s now listening to my voice, embrace change and look at it as it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And I want to hold your thought, babe. There's nothing wrong with change if it's change for the better. There's nothing wrong with change if you find yourself in new environments for growth. Embrace those moments. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know it all. But if your center, who you are in your center, is a person who embraces change, you're gonna be okay because you know that like it's not a bad thing. But one thing I will say for you is that stay open-minded, embrace change, but make sure you have solid principles that you operate on because principles do not change. But your understanding of those principles may change. And when you find yourself in new environments that evokes change and it's going to challenge you, that's okay. But as long as you're solid in your principles of who you are and knowing that, you can always be okay because you have the internal knowing that change is actually the best thing that could ever happen for me. But yes.
I want to piggyback off of that actually because it's all gonna tie together. It's
Yeah.
all connected. All of it's truly connected. But our willingness to change And our ability to accept change is what makes our relationship so strong.
Facts.
And this is just a little side note tidbit. The reason why I knew that, and I know that it's always going to be good between us, like deep down. Like, of course, we argue and
Mm-hmm.
have our lows, but I know that it's always going to be progressive between us, is because we both have a strong desire and willingness to change.
Mm-hmm.
We both understand that concept. So we know that if we trust that if something is going on with the other person, if we're causing that other person to feel some type of stress or, grief or whatever, then it's because something within us needs to change. Like, we need to work on something within us, and we're willing to do so. We're willing to figure that out. Or maybe it's something that that person needs to work on, but they also are willing to change and willing to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
When you get with someone who's afraid of change, when hard times come along, because you're always going to grow and you're always going to be changing as a person. So if the person that you're with isn't willing to change, then y'all are going to just grow apart.
Facts.
So that's just a
Yep.
side note. Always be willing and open to change, and it's going to help your relationships.
That's why a lot of relationships fail today.
But I will say, going back to your question of people are afraid of challenging their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because, one, people are afraid of change, but two, people are afraid of being uncomfortable. People are really afraid of being uncomfortable, because if you change your entire belief systems, that's going to require a lot of uncomfortable situations out of you. It's going to require you to take on a whole new life sometimes, and a whole new lens and a whole new perspective, which is going to be very different from what you're used to. And that's very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people run to comfort.
Yep.
That's a big piece of advice that given to people in their 20s. Stop running to comfort. Stop running to comfort. The best things in life are on the other side of discomfort. The growth, the opportunities, the relationships that you desire, the person that you want to be, everything that you desire is on the other side of discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Also known as fear as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anxiety.
And anxiety. Yeah.
Because fear, I said this in the previous episode, and if you haven't watched it, then you need to. What's it the previous? I
It's
said it at some point.
yeah. So fear is basically like a backwards approach. Anxiety is more like something ahead of you that you
Right.
okay.
So fear is uncontrollable. Fear is like a gut reaction. That is our instinct reaction that
Mm-hmm.
we have when to protect ourselves, that fight or flight feeling. That's fear. But anxiety is when we're afraid of something that may or may not happen.
Mm, gotcha.
So when you are quote unquote afraid of change, that's just your anxiety talking. And anxiety is just an emotion. So going back to controlling your emotions, getting that anxiety under control, and understanding why you're quote unquote afraid of that change to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Are you simply afraid of that change because it's just unknown to you? Because, newsflash, you're not going to know everything. You can't predict everything.
That's the thing.
And I guess that's why people want to stay in comfortable situations, because they're predictable.
Mm-hmm.
But life is very unpredictable. But can you build the strength within yourself? Can you build that self-awareness and that trust within yourself to know that regardless of what happens in life, you're going to be fine?
Right. And I think that's rooted in the self-love that you have for yourself, your self-belief and your self-love, just knowing that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. And that's another thing I encourage for people in their 20s, that you should always be in a continual state of building your belief in self, encouraging and building that the love of self, knowing that no matter what, I have the power. As long as I'm doing my best to feed myself internally, it doesn't matter what happens in my external reality, I'm going to always be okay.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
that is true. And I want to loop this back around to, because we went on a whole,
Let's
well,
just go. Just keep it
I
going.
love it though. But we're talking about personal responsibility and accountability, because
Mm-hmm.
it's all fine and dandy to know within yourself that, this situation isn't something that I want. Is it's fine and dandy to understand, hey, I'm running to comfort. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I'm afraid of change or whatever. Awareness is cool. But what do you do with that awareness?
I don't understand the question. What are you asking?
Once you're aware of things that need to change in your life, or things that you need to work on, or things that are going on, what do you do?
Respond. Take responsibility. Respond differently
Okay.
to life. And what I mean by that is before your awareness, you operated from a more reactive type place. And what is reactive? Meaning that something happens in your outer reality. Okay, you reacted in a certain manner. And people who react to life, they lack power of self.
Okay.
And that's also attached to living life from a victim place. So you don't really know that until you go what I call go into the dungeon and you start to go internal, you self-reflect, you ask yourself those questions, you get that clarity, get those answers, and you become more aware of the outer reality that's going on. So when you come out of that, when you become more self-aware, I I would challenge people and encourage them to just start responding differently. Take more responsibility. So when you look at the word responsibility, you have the ability to respond to
Mm,
whatever is going on in your reality.
mm,
So what is response? That means you have the power to respond in a manner that is necessary to you and where you're going, right?
mm,
So, and that is self accountability. You taking control of your life, and also it's approaching everything from the lens of okay, what can I do about the situation? What can I do about it? What can I do? What does that mean? All right, I'm now taking control of my life and my situation. My goal is not to change the situation.
yeah.
I'm changing myself.
Mm-hmm.
How do you change yourself? You respond differently. You do something different. Whether that is okay, just having a different knowing within self that okay, I now know that I can't change this person. This situation may be out of my control, but what can I do about it? I'm now more aware of my power and what I am able to do with myself and my situations. So I'm going to move differently.
Yeah.
And I think that is how you just find yourself in better positions, whether they be within yourself or just in your reality.
I think where a lot of people go wrong is when they try to control other people
Mm-hmm.
and try to control the situation, when in actuality, you don't have any control over that.
Right.
You can simply control yourself and your actions and your own perspective. And in doing so, you will find that your outer reality alters. But it's only in changing yourself and controlling what you do and who you are can you really influence the outside reality. It works the other way. You cannot control the outside reality by trying to control it directly. You have to control it indirectly by controlling your inside reality.
Yep. Remember what I told you last week? Going forward, what I realized is I was not being the change that I want to see in my outer reality. I was so focused on trying to change my outer reality where I should have been putting my energy towards changing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And and by me changing myself for the better, that's going to influence my outer reality.
Yeah.
And if I find that my outer reality is not changing, then that I now can say that I took responsibility. I took control over myself. And if I did the best that I could, I now have the power to and understanding to move accordingly.
Yeah.
Because everything that I do, all every frequency, vibrational energy that I put out is rooted in power over self. I'm only responsible and control over me and how and my actions.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control people. I can't control the weather situations. None of that. Only me.
Also, I feel like we need to talk about consequences of not doing so.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was talking to Jamal the other day. We've been having conversations, and we're not having kids no time soon, but we continuously have conversations about how we want to raise our children so that we can be prepared and on the same page when the time comes, and that so we can just discuss these things and get a better understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I told Jamal last week was I don't want to teach our kids the concept of right or wrong or
Right.
good or bad. What I want to teach them is action and consequence. So if they're stuck between making a decision, so let's talk teenagers, I guess. Let's say you want to sneak out the house. Okay, let's say our daughter wants to sneak out of the house. I would say, okay, what are the consequences of you doing so? You sneak out the house, you get to go to this party and have a good time. But also the other consequence is that I'm gonna ground you and I'm taking your dough and I'm taking your cell phone. It's not that you did anything bad, but unless you don't want your cell phone and your door and your freedom to be taken away, then maybe you shouldn't do that.
You said door?
Yeah,
What door?
to their bedroom.
You gonna remove the door?
Yeah.
That's lit. Damn.
We're not gonna whoop our kids. So you know what? I just gotta take.
Who ain't whooping their kids?
Don't do this. Don't do this. You gonna whoop our kids?
Yes.
Y'all, we're gonna have this conversation off screen. We're gonna have this conversation off screen.
Let's clarify that. So whooping our kids is not going to be the first response.
Okay.
Now, if they continually disrespect us, then being your ass in the form of is the consequence.
Okay. I can kind of half agree, and this is a whole other side note. I can kind of agree with it being like whooping kids to some degree. It has to be like a rare type thing. It cannot be our first response. It cannot be. I recognize that a lot of parents beat their kids out of anger or to
Mm-hmm.
take their own emotions out on that child.
Right.
And I don't want to use it in that way.
Of course. Of course.
But I also believe that there are other ways to punish your kids outside of beating them. And I don't think they'll ever have to resort to that. If we're very effective in understanding what our children want and what would make them miserable,
Yeah.
like I said, taking your door. I'm taking away all your privacy. You can't buy nothing. I'm taking all of your electronics. You finna sit there and read all day.
Yeah.
I'm picking the book. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we wouldn't even have to beat the kids at that point.
And our style of look at people and be like, who y'all think y'all? They don't even got kids, so how you gonna know? But we're taking the necessary time to observe and study what went wrong with our parents and our upbringing.
Yeah.
And we've come to the conclusion that beating your kids, the downside of doing so, you're tainting the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You are invoking this feeling of rebellion and hate for you because you're using your authority of physical authority and this label of a parent and placing that over them where they have no power to respond in the manner that they know that they need to.
Yeah.
And that's hurting the relationship long term. Our goal is with our kids is to develop long lasting, lovable, well equipped, well rounded children. And we realize that there's other ways to doing so. So if our children, they're going to mess up, they're going to do some things wrong. They're going to they're learning. They don't know what they don't know. They're going to do something that's just not right.
Right.
But how we respond to that is going to be we're going to help them to understand, okay, why XYZ was wrong, or you tell me, hey, why did you do this?
Yeah.
We're going to actually communicate with our children.
Yeah.
That's the difference maker. Parents, our parents, and what we see in the Black community, they don't communicate effectively,
Mm-hmm.
and they make decisions based from out of just authoritative fear base in a form of whipping because they know they have that power, where that's not effective at all.
Right.
There's other ways to
Right.
get into the goal. That's, and I wanted to like make sure I clear that up.
Mm.
Now, if we overly communicate and they are clear and they know that they wrong and we repeatedly done our part and they continually disrespect us, well, I don't even see it getting to that point because our kids are going to be so self-aware.
Yeah.
If they do that, I just don't see that happening. But I'm just saying, like, bro, you're gonna get these hands. That's what I mean, y'all. So let me just clear that up.
Yeah, like I said, I hope it doesn't get to that point. And I don't even want to speak too much on raising kids because we don't have any and
Right.
we won't really truly understand and know until we have kids. But these are the type of conversations that we have
Mm-hmm.
between us as we prepare for parenthood 10 years from now. But either way, going back to what I was saying, I wasn't even trying to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Going back to what I was saying about the concept of consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought up that analogy because I wanted to explain that every actions that you take and every time you decide to go against what you know about yourself, every time you are self-aware and you understand something about yourself, yet you go against the need to change, then there are consequences for doing so. And a common consequence is going to be a reiteration of that same lesson,
Yep.
that same pain, that same negative emotion. You're going to keep feeling that over and over and going through that over and over and keep going against and away from everything that you desire
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over again until you decide to take personal responsibility and accountability and do something different. I had to recognize that with, I mean, when I was in that relationship, is that I could sit up here and I could blame him all day. I could try to change him all day. I could fuss, I could cry, I could tell him how much he's hurting me. I could bring up facts. I remember I literally looked up I read an article on gaslighting and I showed it to him and I read it with him. And I was like, do you see that this is exactly what you're doing to me, right? Like you're gaslighting me. You think he gave a damn? He did it again the next day. I could literally sit up here and do everything in my power to try to change him or change the situation. But at some point, I had to become self aware and say, okay, this is not what you want. This is obviously continuously hurting you every day. This is so far away from the person that you want to be and the type of relationship that you want to have. And if I was afraid of change because I had gotten real comfort and comfortable in that dysfunction, I had gotten real comfortable in that toxicity and that dysfunction. And I could have stayed there out of comfort. I could have kept feeding myself the same lies. He'll change. He'll change. I could have focused solely on him changing in order to make myself feel better, or I could have changed
Mm.
and walked away from the situation. So I say that to say when you choose not to take personal responsibility and accountability, you are simply going further and further and further away from what you desire. And you may see that change is the hard part, or that walking away is the hard part, letting go is the hard part, cutting people off is the hard part. But the hard part is living your life knowing that you need a change to cut them off, to let them go, or whatever, and you not doing it and you reaping the consequences of doing that. So why don't you just rip the band-aid off and get the hard part out of the way now? But a lot of people don't see it like that. Like, go through discomfort now so that you can learn the lesson that you need to learn and get it over with, so you don't keep repeating it over and over again.
Mm. Major bars. Powerful, baby.
Thank you, babe.
Oh,
I wanted to see if there was anything left on this thing. We went through a whole thing. Um, I feel like I talked about a little bit of everything. Uh, okay, I do want to hit on this real quick.
go for it.
Stop worrying about the wrong thing.
Mm. Unpackage that for him, baby.
So I recognize that people be caught up in the stupidest stuff. And I feel like we've already kind of talked about this of you be worried about what other people think about you, or you be worried about how people are going to receive you. You be worried about being the bad guy. You be worried about doing the wrong thing, quote unquote. But if it is not helping you to get to who you want to be, how you want to live, and the type of relationships that you want to have, then you should not be worried about it. And it's really that simple. It's really that simple. If what you're engaging in or the situation that you're worried about, because one thing I recognize that people in college or just people in their 20s still deal with is drama. Drama. And one thing I love about our life is that it's pretty drama free right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least with other people, like we have our own things that we go through. And I love that drama isn't what gives our life excitement. Like, your life doesn't have to be governed by drama in order to be exciting. Chasing your dreams, doing it with the person that you love, chasing your desires, and really molding yourself into the person that you want to be, stepping out of your comfort zone. That's exciting. Being caught up in he said, she said, who slept with who got to fighting with who, that is a very toxic type of excitement, but people be really worried about that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So, why is it that our life is not filled with drama compared to other people whose lives are filled with drama?
Because we've gotten to a place where we've eliminated the things that can create drama in our lives.
Okay.
I feel like drama stems from a bunch of people not doing what they really want to do
Mm-hmm.
and just taking it out on other people. Drama just stems from people not doing what they really want to do and not being who they want to be and not really getting what they desire out of life, just taking it out on other people when they really just need to take personal responsibility and accountability for their own stuff and take themselves out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we've created this space where we've removed people from our lives who don't know how to take responsibility over themselves
But why do we do that?
because we understand we want peace.
Right.
We want peace, and that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
What were you getting at?
No, that's good. That's exactly it. What came to my mind as well is, but the reason why we don't have drama in our life compared to the drama that you see in other people is because we are at a place where we are clear on like a purpose. We are living a
Mm,
purpose-filled life. And when you are operating a place of a purpose-filled life, you don't have time to involve yourself in drama because your energy and your focus is focused on what we're working towards.
mm,
So all of our energy, and by default, what's going to happen is the people who are meant to be in your life, they are going to excuse themselves because they see that we are clear in our direction in life and what we're doing. And they know that who they are as people, they don't have the space and capacity to remain there.
mm,
So for those who are involving themselves in drama, those are the people who are not clear on who they are and what they want out of life. So they fill their emptiness with something like situations and other people that make them feel like there's a sense of substance that they can involve themselves in and make them feel good about being a part of that. It's a time waster. When you don't
mm.
have purpose, you involve yourself in time wasters. But
Take your clothes on.
man, chill. Chill. Not on camera, baby. God damn.
I'm gonna drag this man upstairs. That was so good, babe. That was some good shit.
Mm.
I just want to leave it right there. You got anything else to say?
About the drama?
Just in general.
Oh yeah, I think we should still keep going.
I I felt like that was good. In my opinion, I ain't got nothing to add.
You
So
you were supposed to keep going. I just wanted to add my little 2 cents.
that was it. You said it, baby. I don't know.
Damn, first time ever to where I've said something and Queen just like that's the end off. That's the end show. Like wow, cool.
That was bars, baby.
Wow,
That was bars. You were right. That's really where drama stems from. That kind of blew my mind a little bit. That blew my mind.
wow. I'm glad I can
What?
share something that blew your mind.
That was beautiful.
Wow.
Okay.
I do have a couple other things I would like to share,
Okay.
and I know that what I want to say it may come off and rub some people wrong, but cool. I hope it does, but in a not in a negative
A
way,
loving way.
in a loving way. Because we're just speaking from our perspective of life and how we're choosing to live life. And that's another thing too. Like you can live life how you want to live life. And that's okay. There's no right or wrong way to live life. It's how you choose to live life.
Mm-hmm.
And find peace in that. There's nobody here who just knows it all,
Nope.
you know? So give yourself the permission to figure out how do you want to live your life. And when you go through that journey of figuring out how you want to live life, become aware of the consequences of the choice you made in the life that you live.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're okay with the potential consequences, then go for that. And I want to tie that into choosing to live a principle based life
Mm-hmm.
compared to a situation or reactive type life. And what I've observed with people is that because they are not clear on their foundation and clear on how the world works, back to what I was saying, that principles don't change.
Mm-hmm.
Universal laws don't change.
Mm-hmm.
And people lack the awareness of how shit works. And when you are clear on the principles, on your principles and the principle of how this world works, you know the consequences of those principles. So if you stay in that seat, like I'm reading the book now, and it's talking about knowing your center.
Okay.
And when you are clear on your center, you know how to respond in your reality, basically. And the problem is we are not clear on our center.
Yeah.
We have a reactive type center. Our center is things that are not in our control. We put relationships in our as our center. We
Mm.
put money as our center. We put work as our center. We put enemies as our center. And these
Mm.
centers are things that can waver. Things are out of your control. Relationships, people, you have no control over. And they come in different shapes and forms. And when you allow these things to be your center, you're putting yourself in positions to be disappointed, let down, and victimized repeatedly over time. And people are living their lives from a place of victimization, continuously being victimized by external circumstances where it has them believe that I can't do nothing, I can't change, I
Mm.
can't progress my life forward because XYZ continuously happen. It's because their center is off. And when you operate from a principle based center, that means you are making the decision to put yourself first. You have the power and you are responsible for everything in your life. And what you're also saying to yourself is, which is the best thing that you can say to yourself, is that I can only give my power away to things outside of myself if I choose to do so.
Mm.
And just having that knowing and understanding right there, that should set some people free. When you make the decision to no longer allow yourself to play a victim role, you have the power. Nothing can mess with you unless you allow it to. And that's what I would encourage people in their 20s to get to that place within yourself.
Mm.
Put God first. And that's my form of putting God first.
Yeah.
What does putting God first look like? Remember, I'm coming from how I see the world and my walk of life. Putting God first means that you're putting yourself first. You are God of your own reality.
Mm-hmm.
You take full responsibility. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. I'm sorry. You are coming to save you. And that's going to hurt some feelings. But what I'm telling you is that you have to get to a place where you stop expecting things outside of yourself, something in the sky or this image of God in the skies that's going to come down and change your situation. You gonna change your situation by you taking full accountability and responsibility of the things that you have control over, and you let go of the things that you have no power over. You give the things that you have no power over to your higher power, however you see that. That's what you give control over to. But you being God of your own reality, that's putting yourself first. That's putting God first. Pray to the God in the mirror.
Mm.
Stop praying to this thing outside of this pie in the sky, image of God, whatever that we've been taught and programmed to believe that something outside of ourselves is going to come and save us.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time praying to something outside of ourselves, thinking it's going to change our situation when the whole time you have been God this whole time.
Mm.
So I encourage you, start praying to the God in the mirror. And I promise you,
Mm.
start taking full responsibility of your life. You're gonna see a major difference in your life. And nobody can take your power away from you unless you allow them to do so. And I think I can just end it on that.
It's like there are things that I want to say, but I feel like that is the ultimate that's the ultimate principle.
Mm,
What you just said, that's the ultimate principle. And everything else is secondary.
right.
And so I feel like because of that, that's a beautiful place to end.
Wow. So would you say that there's so many gems that we can give to
Oh, there's
advice, so
thousands.
many, but I would say the most important is early on in your life, make the decision to take full responsibility of your life.
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't do that.
They don't.
A lot of people allow outside things to govern their decisions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people allow pettiness and drama and just feelings of hurt to hold them back from blessings
Mm,
and what they really need to be successful.
mm.
And it's simply because they keep blaming outside factors for their own misfortune.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's deep,
It is deep.
but it's also freeing at the same time when you realize that.
I agree, babe. Well, the last tidbit that I want to give is if you're in your 20s and your credit profile ain't built out, you in the 500s, 600s, then you need to hit up my man so he can fix your credit. You see how I did that right now? You see how I did that right now? Yeah. He fixed credit. He builds credit. So even if you have a great credit score in the 700s, but you don't have anything really reporting on your credit report, he can give you the resources that you need. He gives out consultations to where he can walk you through what you need to do to actually build your credit as well. If you're an entrepreneur wanting to start your own LLC or acquire business funding he is also the guy that you need to hit up. Go ahead and book a free consultation at start.jscocapital.com. We got it wrong last week.
Mm-hmm.
Start.jscocapital.com. Also, he has a do for self business.
Yeah, do it yourself
There we go.
credit repair software that if you don't want me to do it for you and you want to just take more control and do it yourself, if you have the time to do it, I have a software that you can do it yourself. It's called Do for Self creditfix.com, whereas the software literally walks you step by step to where you can just input your information and you can dispute with the credit bureaus. And all you have to do is free. But the only thing you have to pay for is just keeping up with your credit monitoring subscription on a month-to-month basis, which is something that it's a requirement for my clients if they want me to do it for them. So that's something that you're gonna have to be on regardless. But other than that, the software is free.
Bet. Also, what else? Oh, check out. Oh, yeah, we just secured. We have secured the Black and Abundant domain.
Let's go.
So you can go on blackandabundant.com. Isn't that amazing? Like, that's such a fire domain, blackandabundant.com.
Yep.
I would have surely thought somebody would have taken that.
Yeah.
I would have surely thought, but no, we own blackandabundant.com. So go to blackandabundant.com and you can get this hoodie that Jamal has got on. You can get mugs. Ours are on the front. Ignore that. The mugs are normally, the pictures normally on the side. These were a mistake, but we fixed it. So the pictures are on the side. The logo's on the side. But we also have stickers now up there and t-shirts. And starting today, December 1, it is buy one, get one 25% off until I believe the 13th.
Hop on that ASAP.
The reason why it's the 13th is because the 13th, I believe, is the last day that you can order something and it get to you by Christmas.
Gotcha. Okay.
So between now and the 13th, everything on blackandabundant.com is buy one, get one 25% off.
Beautiful. And if you rocking with us, please, take advantage of the discount. Don't just get one, but get two. Get the top and the bottom, and take a picture of your
Baby,
fit.
that's for manifested.
Oh, what was it?
Black and Abundant ain't got
bottoms.
My
bad. But still, but look, Black and Abundant, whether that be or for manifested, you know what I'm saying? If you get the top and the bottom for manifested, take a picture, tag us in it, and show us how you styling. If you get the Black and Abundant merch, do the same thing.
Yes. So the bottoms he was talking about.
My bad.
If you head over to manifestedperiod.com, manifestedperiod.com, you can get, you see this hoodie I got on, it says manifested period on it. Well, it's manifested with a period on the end. It does not say the word period. But anyway, but it's pronounced manifested period. People get that confused all the time. The business name is not named manifested. It's manifested period. Anyway, head over to manifestedperiod.com. Everything is on there. Is also buy one, get one 25% off from the 1st through the 13th. And we have, matching suit sets. So a hoodie with matching sweatpants, and sweatpants are so comfortable. They're so amazing. If you haven't seen them, they're all over our website and all over our Instagram. Like, you got to go check them out. And also something that I did today because somebody requested it, the hoodie and the matching sweatpants now come in gold thread. So before it was only just the white embroidered manifested, but now you can get manifested with gold embroidery. So there's actually a white sweatsuit now. So if you just like wearing white, there's a whole white sweatsuit on there with gold embroidery. I feel like that's so clean. I need to get me one.
Let me get some of that with my white Air Forces.
Bro.
Clean on these.
They're all white. I don't need all white nothing. I'm a mess. I make mess. I'm a klutz when it comes to that.
No, you're not.
Have stains all over it. We're gonna speak it that I'm not.
No.
But either way, I got a white manifested hoodie in there right now with a stain on it. But it's okay.
Just don't eat no spaghetti with your white manifested stuff. Come on, just think it through.
Anyway, other than that, I think, did I already talk about my book?
Talk about it again.
Okay. Yeah, I'm writing a book and it will be dropping within the next week or so, called How to Move On in 30.
Best-selling.
How to Move On in 30 Days. If you would like a free copy of that book, then I need you to DM me right now and say, I want the book. I'm only giving it away to 3 people. So do it right now the moment you hear my voice.
Wow. That's love.
It is love. It is love. All right. Is that it?
That is it, my friend.
All right. So if you did not know, we are Jamal and Nia. You can find us at by Nia Love and at Jasco the producer. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Black and Abundant podcast. We will see you guys next week.
Until next time.